Today, let's take an in-depth look at all 15 offensive linemen heading into training camp. We're going to talk about roster locks, who has an uphill battle, who's more than likely going to make it. We're going to look at the right tackle battle and also talk left tackle options if for whatever reason Orlando Brown Jr. doesn't get a deal done or sign his tag, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, aka the Resilient Red-Bearded Rascal, or sometimes known as the Red-Bearded Baron of Barbecue Burnt Ends, and I'm back with another scoop for the Red Kingdom troops, with more daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I'm gonna need you to sub if you're new, hit that like button if the Burnt Ends talk already has you hungry, and let's get into this doozy of a video about the offensive line right after I remind you guys of this. Tonight, 8 p.m. Central, I'm gonna be doing, for sure, my first ever live stream to celebrate the fact that we crossed 15,000 subs. Incredible. I hope to see those of you there who can make it, because it's going to be a jolly old time hanging out with me and my beard. All right, let's get into this video, because the senior reporter for the Chiefs, Matt McMullen, is back with another banger, an in-depth article packed with info about the 15 offensive linemen that are currently on the roster heading into training camp. So, let's take a look at it and talk about all 15 of these guys. We'll give an overview of who are roster locks, who has a good shot of making it, and who has more of an uphill battle. And here we freaking go. First up, of course, is the guy getting talked about pretty much everywhere at the moment, because in theory, said guy has started contract talks with the team as of yesterday, and if not yesterday, it better be today, because the deadline is Saturday. So either way, please hurry it up a wee little bit. But yes, that first guy is, of course, left tackle Orlando Brown Jr., whom the Chiefs traded for last offseason to protect the blind side of Patrick Mahomes. Orlando logged a career-high 1,127 snaps last season, missing only one game, and that earned him the number 7 overall PFF grade among left tackles with 1,000 snaps. He was off to a bit of a slower start, if we're going to be honest, as he was learning to mesh with Mahomes and Joe Thuney still, but from week 8 to the conclusion of the regular season, only allowed one sack. One little sack, so not too bad. We've talked about this guy a bunch on this channel, but we know that whether he signs a long-term deal or plays on the franchise tag, he's a certified roster lock for sure. There's also the scenario that he doesn't get a deal and doesn't sign his tag and sits out, but extremely unlikely, if we're going to be honest, because he needs his stock to go up and up if he wants the bag of gold coins. Anyway, the next roster lock is going to be left guard Joe Thuney, the 29-year-old guard the Chiefs signed in free agency with very high hopes last offseason. And this man did not disappoint, because he is an absolute baller, a certified G unit. G stands for guard, certified guard unit, if you will. In week 5, for example, against the Buffalo Bills, this man broke his freaking hand on the first series and not only played the rest of the game, but the next week as well. And every other week after that, that's right, he started in all 17 games, logging 1,184 snaps and earned PFF's top pass blocking grade among qualified guards. He even bounced out to left tackle in week 17 when Orlando Brown Jr. missed that one due to injury. And without any preparation, because Orlando Brown Jr., I believe, hurt himself in pre-game warmups, so without zero prep, he faced a pretty impressive pass rusher, allowed 0 sacks and only 2 pressures. So what an absolute legend Joe Thuney is. Glad we have him on the team. Next up is center Creed Humphrey, the Chiefs' 63rd overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, and a definite roster lock for 2022. Creed was so good that PFF graded him as the best center in the NFL. And not only that, they also gave him the best grade for any center since 2017. This man came here to play, yes, but did not come here to play games, and is here to stay. Plus, he recently partnered up with Boulevard Brewing Company, so this man just keeps winning on all sides of life. And now we slide over literally one spot to right guard, and to the next roster lock, arguably the steal of last year's draft, and that is Trey Smith, the Chiefs' 226 overall selection in the 2021 NFL Draft. And this man performed exceptionally last year, lining up at right guard for 100% of Kansas City's offensive snaps and earning the 12th best PFF grade among guards with 1,000+ snaps. And speaking of PFF, which stands for pretty freaking pathetic formula. Not really, I just made that up. But they recently did a redraft of Smith, and in that redraft, they had this man going 16th overall in the first round. So he was 226th overall. The redraft had him going 16th. So yes, definite steal of the draft, who had a bit of a risk due to his health, which is why he fell so far in the draft, but he's been healthy, and that risk has certainly paid off. And if you look at the trio of Joe Thuney at left guard, Creed Humphrey in the center, and Trey Smith at the right guard spot, you could argue that this is the best interior trio in the entire NFL. And for that, I'm very freaking grateful, because we need to protect Patrick $500 million Mahomes at all costs. So there you go. Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle, Joe Thuney at left guard. Creed is good, yes, but also is the center. And then Trey Smith at right guard. But what about right tackle? Well, this is a position to watch coming into training camp, preseason, all of that, because I would say right now it's a three-way battle. Illuminati. Three-way battle between three players: Lucas Niang, Andrew Wylie, and the new rookie Darian Kinnard. There's another guy we'll talk about here in a bit, but to me, I feel like it's these three. So let's start with Niang first. He was drafted by the Chiefs in the third round of the 2020 NFL draft, but then opted out of his rookie season under the NFL's COVID-19 policy. And while I 100% respect his decision to opt out, it definitely hurt the Chiefs when they had injury issues later in the season. And it may have perhaps hurt Niang as well, even his body's ability to perform at such a high level, because of the year that he took off. The 6'7", 339-pound monster did return for the 2021 season, starting 9 games at right tackle, but dealt with a season-ending injury in Week 17 when he tore his patella tendon. He had surgery this offseason and has been rehabbing, with an estimated return to be here in a couple weeks for training camp, but he may very well not be good enough to go at the start of the season, and could lose out on that right tackle spot for the time being to the next guy on the list, and that is the 5-year Chiefs veteran Andrew Swiss Army Knife Wylie. This man was a free agent back in 2018, then ended up making the team out of training camp and did so well that season, he was voted the Chiefs' annual most outstanding first-year player and won the Mac Lee Hill Award. He's been here, been reliable, and has played the Swiss Army knife role for KC, playing guard earlier on, but exclusively as a right tackle last season, and honestly played pretty freaking well, all things considered. And then you have the third guy potentially fighting for this right tackle spot, and that's the new rookie Hulk Smash Darian Kinnard, who was drafted by the Chiefs in the 5th round of this year's draft. This man is one large human being, 6'5", 354 pounds, and has 11 1/4 inch hands. Probably double mine. I don't even know, but that's crazy. The biggest hands, by the way, of any player at the NFL Scouting Combine earlier this offseason. Kinnard could be a real steal in this year's draft, similar to Trey Smith in a sense, but not because of health reasons. Kinnard fell way lower than projected, partially due to his own fault, because he chose to wear political attire and make statements about the pandemic during the lead up to the draft. So, hey, oh well, because the Chiefs ended up being able to snag this giant man out of Kentucky and bring him to KC for a chance to compete for the right tackle position. The good news about Kinnard, though, is that he played also at the guard position in college, so versatile is his word. Never a bad thing. If he doesn't make the right tackle starting role, he could kick out to guard, be used as depth, all kinds of good stuff like that. So anyway, there's the 3 guys competing for the right tackle spot: Lucas Niang, Andrew Wylie, and Darian Kinnard, and I'm currently leaning towards the veteran Andrew Wylie nabbing the starting role as they continue to work with and develop Kinnard. And then Niang, we may not see until the second half of the season, or at least until week 5 if the Chiefs decide to play things safe and place him on the reserve or the PUP list. Once Niang returns, though, then it gets a wee bit more complicated as to who will play that position, to be honest, but that's a good problem to have, because it means the Chiefs have some afforded depth for the line for when injuries happen, because sadly, they will, and then it'll be the next best man up. So there's the guys who are pretty much roster locks barring injury and or have a good shot at the right tackle spot, in my opinion at least. But let's talk about the rest of the guys on this list, because there are more who could perform their way into the mix as well, such as Geron Christian, the 25-year-old who was drafted by the Commanders in 2018, playing 3 seasons with them and appearing in 38 games, starting 16. He then had a one-year stint with Houston and logged 560 whole snaps at left tackle, allowing only one sack and grading as 15th best among all tackles, according to PFF. So, Christian is a mammoth of a man at 6'6", 315 pounds, and has the experience and ability to play at either side, left or right tackle. So, my thoughts here on Christian is he's a pretty good piece to have around in case of an Orlando Brown injury, or even at right tackle if other injuries on the line force Kinnard or Wylie, who both have guard experience, to kick inside and help out there. I mean, honestly, he could even fight his way to start at right tackle. It's not impossible. Or if the situation with Orlando goes absolutely haywire, there's an option for left tackle, although maybe not ideal, to not have Orlando Brown Jr. on the sideline or sitting out, refusing to sign his tag if a long-term deal doesn't work out. That's worst case scenario, not going to lie. The next tackle, though, on this list is a vet in the game. Roderick Johnson, who was drafted by the Browns in 2017 in the 5th round, spent 3 seasons there, then was in Houston for 2, the Dolphins practice squad last year, and now finds himself here in KC now that Tyreek and Melvin Ingram are in Miami. And like Geron Christian, Johnson also has experience at both tackle positions, which is always NICE. The next tackle on this list is Prince Tega Wanogho, and he is a 24-year-old, 6'5", 303-pound little monster and has quite the story. This man grew up in Nigeria, then was a standout high school basketball player. I wonder how much this guy weighed when he was playing basketball, by the way, because he's right now 300 pounds. Anyway, he was a standout high school basketball player in high school when he came to the States. He started playing football somewhat on a whim, simply to stay in shape for basketball, but showed talented promise at the sport rather quickly. And despite that limited experience, this man caught the attention of Auburn, ended up going there, playing in college, where he went on to start 32 games and earn multiple all-conference selections. So, quite the freaking story. He was then drafted by the Eagles in the 6th round of the 2020 NFL Draft, spending most of that season on the practice squad, but now finds himself here in KC fighting for a roster spot. Next on this list is Nick Allegretti, aka Big Man Touchdown. He was a 7th round pick by the Chiefs in 2019 and has seen action on both the offensive line and special teams. He appeared in 17 games last season, yes, but almost exclusively for special teams with very limited snaps on the line. But in 2020, he started 9 games for the Chiefs and has the ability to play at either guard or center. And speaking of centers, next on this list is Austin Reiter, the former starting center during the 2019 Super Bowl run. He started 16 games that year, 12 in 2020, and then ultimately ended up joining the Dolphins in free agency last season. But after only appearing in 6 games there in Miami, he is now back in Kansas City as a very solid backup to Creed Humphrey. Probably the best case scenario if Creed Humphrey was to get injured, which I pray that never happens. All right, I'm going to need you guys to take a deep breath real quick. Woosah. Because there's only 3 guys left on this list. Yes, we've crossed 12 guys off, 3 remaining. Let's get it. Michael Caliendo, who is a UDFE signee this offseason and is the 2nd player from Western Michigan to join the ranks of KC, the other one being Sky Moore. But Caliendo appeared in 54 games there at Western Michigan and has experience at all 3 of the interior positions on the cute little offensive line. Then there is Chris Glaser, a UDFA who earned a contract after a successful tryout during rookie minicamp, who had 44 starts at the University of Virginia with experience at both right and left guard. And then Vitaliy Gurman, who, just like Glaser, was a UDFA who attended rookie minicamp and made the cut for now. He played at the University of Toledo and has played all 3 interior positions while there. Okay, there was the list of 15 names making up the offensive line heading into training camp. So what does this mean and where do we go from here? Well, approximately 5 of these guys are going to be cut. The Chiefs kept 10 offensive linemen both last season and in 2019, but only kept 9 in 2020. And looking at their initial practice squads at the start of the season, over the last 3 years, they had 2 offensive linemen on there in 2021, 1 in 2020, and only 1 in 2019 as well, despite having only 9 on the active roster in 2020, I might add. So approximately 1 or 2 of the 5 or 6 that don't make the active roster will have a shot at making the practice squad. And I will say, the Chiefs often have a center or someone who can play the center position on their practice squad. So they may very well be following that trend this season as well. So far, I see Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith as the only 4 certified roster locks, but I see Darian Kinnard and Andrew Wylie making the active roster as well, especially Wylie, who you could say is almost a lock to start at right tackle. So I almost put him in the roster lock position, but they're still fighting for right tackle, and it's hard to know till the freaking pads get on and they, start doing little things with their big old muscles. Anyway, another guy I'm fairly confident in making the roster is Nick Allegretti. He has plenty of experience, plays a lot of special teams, so he has multiple things going for him, and I believe he's still on his rookie deal, so why the heck not? Anyway, so that's 7 players with the remaining 8 competing for 2 to 3 spots on the active roster and 1 to 2 spots on the practice squad. I do like Geron Christian's odds of making the roster because of his ability to play left and right tackle, and Austin Reiter is a very solid backup to Creed. Very solid indeed, but some of these other guys on the roster have played center and can play left and right guard. I think Reiter can move around too, but that's going to be something to look at and look into because these new guys are probably going to be a little bit cheaper. But I'm not as sure right now at the moment on the offensive line as I have been when I've covered some of these other positions like running backs, QBs, receivers, or tight ends because we need them to put pads on and see them in action at training camp to see where the coaches are really thinking, as well as we need to watch some preseason games. So there you have it for now. The squad of 15 with approximately 7 to 8 pretty much locked in, and the remaining 7 or so players fighting for 2 to 3 spots on the active and maybe 1 to 2 on the practice squad. Sheesh, that was a lot of info, but who do you guys think as of right now is going to make it? Who's getting cut? Any idea yet? How about Orlando Brown Jr.? Is that man going to sign his deal? Is he going to play on the tag? I need to know this. News is going to come out on him this week, hopefully sooner than later. Anyway, it's pretty early to tell at the moment who's going to make it, not make it, all that good stuff. Be sure of this. I will definitely keep you all in the loop every step of the way. Make sure to leave a bearded comment or a super thanks to potentially be featured in an upcoming little video. Sub for more daily news like this. And then check out this video here. Boop, pew. Why am I doing sound effects? I don't know. But this is from KCSN, in which they discuss the possibility of trading for Robert Quinn, and they talk about his trade value and all that good stuff. They're way smarter than me. Check them out. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?